I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. All right, so we are at a point now where indictments are going to start flying all over the place come December and after the midterm elections. Fannie Willis in the state of Georgia, I think she's the Attorney General for the county of Fulton, will be indicting. She says she will be indicted, but potentially Newt Gingrich, probably John Trump, Lindsey Graham, and a bunch of others regarding that phone call that Trump made to Brad Ratzenberger. But last night on Laurence O'Donnell, on the Last Word broadcast, he interviewed the 50-year professor at Harvard University, Laurence Tribe, who also stated emphatically that Attorney General Merrick Garland will indict Donald Trump. That was very powerful. I'm going to let you listen to it.
You've known Merrick Garland since he was one of your law students. I know you've read that Atlantic piece today predicting that Merrick Garland will decide to indict Donald Trump in this case. What is your expectation?
I do expect exactly the same thing, because to his very core, Merrick Garland believes in the rule of law. People call him an institutionalist, but he's told me, and I think he told Franklin Foer, that he doesn't use that term for himself. That sounds sort of like a bureaucrat, though in prettier clothes. But he is committed to law, to following the law where it leads, to the reality-based world as opposed to the fantasy-based world. And the law and the facts here inexorably lead to conclusions about the president having taken government documents that don't belong to him, having stored them illegally in unsafe places, having apparently attempted to use them as bargaining chips, telling the government at various points, if you want some of these things back, you want me to turn them over to the National Archives, why don't you give me some of the FBI records that are involved in my supposed dealings with Russia, transactional down to the bone. It seems to me that in these circumstances, it's clear that all three of the crimes that led to the search and seizure, the three alleged crimes, are strongly provable, including obstruction of justice. And that's not even to mention the grave crimes involving seditious conspiracy and insurrection. So the real questions before Merrick Garland are not whether to indict, but when and where and for which crimes. Where, he'll have to decide whether to indict in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, he could do even over the Mar-a-Lago offenses, because they began when he took the documents illegally from the White House in Washington, and it was institutions in Washington that he was stiffing and deceiving when he didn't return them. And when it comes to trying the case in Washington, there one could include insurrection and seditious conspiracy in addition to espionage, theft of government documents, and obstruction of justice. And the question of when depends very much on exactly when all the ducks are lined up in a row, when all of the witnesses are ready. Merrick Garland is not going to bring less than an overwhelming case. That I know by knowing him for all these years. He doesn't do things halfway. He's enormously thorough. And I'm among those who from time to time is frustrated by his thoroughness. When he was my research assistant years ago, sometimes I'd say, can't you get this done overnight? You're so brilliant. And sometimes he would take the extra 3 hours to turn in something that was absolutely over the top. This will be an indictment that is absolutely over the top, leaving no stone unturned. And I think it's important, despite the angst that will generate and the threatened violence and all the rest, that will be the beginning, I predict, of national healing, when we will begin to see that no one really is above the law, that in fact, even the president of the United States and a former president is accountable. And I think that will make a big difference, because it's all very nice for people to say, in theory, we're going to riot, we're going to do violent things if you follow the law. Let's just see what happens. I think Merrick Garland is not going to be put off.
You know, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican or a so-called conservative either, but I respect what Laurence Tribe has accomplished as a legal scholar over the past 50 years teaching at Harvard. And of course, he was Merrick Garland's professor, and a whole lot of other people now seated on the Supreme Court. He taught them law there at Harvard. I tend to lean towards the fact that there will be an indictment of Donald John Trump, Tribulation Trump. It will be in unprecedented, uncharted waters. There has never been a president or a former president indicted. Of course, Nixon came close to it, but he resigned, and he was then pardoned by President Gerald Ford. This is going to make for a very interesting time. And Laurence Tribe believes that Merrick Garland, knowing him well, has no choice, because the criminal activity of Trump is so overwhelming. He has no choice but to indict him. And we're going to see how this all plays out. I do think that where I may want to differ in opinion with Laurence Tribe on this matter, and that is that in his closing remarks, he stated that the indictment and trial would bring about national healing. I don't know if that's going to be the result. It very well could be. By that he always stated that once all of the world, or America in particular, sees that Donald Trump is not above the law, and neither is anybody else above the law, that people will simmer down and stop all this talk about wars and rumors of wars. My concern is this, is that I don't think that Laurence Tribe has calculated or considered how calculating Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is holding the power of the world in his hand right now with those documents. And, you know, if you bring him to trial, he can start releasing nuclear secrets. He can start releasing secrets of all kinds of lifestyles that the CIA has gathered on people like Mitch McConnell or Kevin McCarthy or Nancy Pelosi. You know, I agree that the indictment must take place, but criminal charges have happened. I don't think that the American justice system could ever prosecute another criminal if they don't prosecute Trump. They could never legally state or bring an indictment against even a bank robber if they don't prosecute Trump. The Justice Department of America would have lost its morality, its integrity, and its ability to prosecute anybody. So they got to do it. Now, they may try not to do it, but if they do it, Trump is not going to sit down in a courtroom by some lawyer while a prosecutor stands up, Merrick Garland or somebody else stands up and accuses him of this crime, and a judge sitting there in a black robe. Trump is not going to do that. And he's got more power right now than Merrick Garland, than Joe Biden. You know, he holds the power of the peace of the world in his hand. Trump is a tribulation, everybody. I thought I told y'all that already. I said I thought I told y'all that Trump God says he's tribulation Trump. He's got all these documents. Some of these documents are so secretive that even Merrick Garland himself can't look at them without somebody giving him special clearance. And Trump has got these documents. He's got them. And he's tried to be transactional by saying, I'll release some of these if you'll give me some of mine, or whatever it was about the Russia. The other item, of course, is that we are headed for a recession. Europe is already in a recession. And if Vladimir Putin cuts off the pipeline of fuel to Europe this winter, They're already in a European economic recession. If they can't get energy in Europe, it's going to be a very difficult time. You're going to see them forcing Vladimir Zelensky to surrender to Putin so they can heat their homes and fuel their automobiles again come December of this year. And then, of course, we got a recession happening here in America, which there's no way you can turn this bad boy around. And by the way, it has nothing to do with any politician. You know, recessions come and go. And nobody's going to turn to one. People, money is tighter now than it's just difficult to come by. There's no discretionary funds among poor people. And the thing that you really need to hear this very carefully, you need to hear this extremely, extraordinarily careful. The Great Depression was a result mainly because of during the Industrial Revolution, people like the Vanderbilts, the Morgans, the Mellons, the Rockefellers, the Fords, they got filthy rich and sucked all the money out of America from poor people. They got filthy rich, Rockefeller, Morgan, Vanderbilt, Mellon, and they all, and as a result, after the World War I, then the Depression set in, and it gripped America, where there were food lines for years during the Great Depression. I want you to listen to this. I'm not an economist, and when I do listen to one, I listen to Larry Summers, another Harvard professor, and I'm not a liberal, but I can tell you this, according to what God has said about Donald John Trump and the tribulation and this indictment that's coming down, these other indictments that are falling, is that this recession and the economics going forward are going to be worse than the Depression because we got more people. We got people like Elon Musk. We got people like, all the others. Even people like Rihanna is a billionaire. I mean, we got these billionaires out here that have sucked poor people's money. Jay-Z, Rihanna, they've sucked money, billions of dollars that could have built houses and schools in the community is now sitting in the coffers of people like Rihanna, Jay-Z, and I'm not just them, that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, a bunch of others. And by the way, that's why my assault on the Mellon Bank was so critical. Well, see, what happens, the reason why you have a recession and then a depression is because a few people at the top suck all the money. Think about this for just a second. They suck all the money out of the, if you will, middle class community, and people have nowhere to go. While the wealthy stay wealthy, eating fine steaks and drinking wine. I don't think I protested long enough against Smith and Walensky. But think about this for just a second. Think about this, I'm going to let you go. And especially if you're a Hamite. Think about this. Think about all the money that Kanye West, Jay-Z, Rihanna, and forget about their music, have sucked out of, if you take the billions that just the three of them have, think of all the schools you could build, hospitals that you could build. You could even start a program of mortgages for people who are first-time home buyers, with a black face or with a Hamite spirit or with a African American. Think about what just the money that the Rihanna has sucked out, that Jay-Z has, that Kanye West has sucked out of the community disproportionately. James Brown never did nothing like that. Little Richard never did. Ray Charles, they never sucked money. They never sucked the money out. Think about that next time you think. Think about that. That's why poor people are in shelters now. It isn't just the fact that Obama was a liar and was not the first black president, but Obama helped make Jay-Z. Jay-Z helped make Obama. They helped each other. But I want you to think about this. When you got, now, and this is on a smaller scale, if you go over to the Japheth crowd, with Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and all them that have sucked the money out of white people's neighborhood, out of Japheth people. They sucked all the money out. They sucked the money out of the farmers. They sucked the money out of the small business owners. They sucked all that money. And now Elon Musk and Jay-Z, not Jay, but what's Jeff Bezos, I'm thinking of his name. Jeff Bezos and others, Warren Buffett. They have sucked billions. Now, all those billions up there among just a few people, and everybody else got to be poor. But on a smaller, more, if you will, parochial scale, if you just took the money that the rap industry has sucked out of the poor neighborhoods, and let me throw in people like Michael Jordan that have sucked the money with them $300 and $400 sneakers. They sucked all that money that could have been building schools, financing banks, building neighborhoods and homes and starting businesses and giving first-time mortgages. All that money they've sucked out by selling that crap they call rap music or them sneakers. They've sucked, if you get that money out the hands of them and get it back into the community, evenly distributed among the families, you could close down the shelters. And men in Chicago stopped shooting each other over gang wars and turf wars. All that money they sucked out of. So we're looking at a period in time that, the indictments are going to fall, but something far worse is going to fall. God said to me, God said that Donald Trump is the trigger of the tribulation. But me, I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. Mellon Bank to Judge Bluth and to Judge Francis A. Kahn III. We shall not be moved.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Sing it. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved.
In the midst of war we fight on, standing on the word of God we stand strong.
We shall not be moved. We're not afraid and ain't backing down. There's a new sheriff here in this town. We shall not be moved. You can't try, but you won't succeed. The time is drawn closer when you will believe. We shall not be moved. For God to have mercy on your poor soul, you'll find out soon you're not in control. We shall not be moved. Singing, we shall not, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Singing, we shall not, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. You push me, you better be prepared, 'cause I'm not gonna run and no, I'm not scared. We shall not be moved.
We're gonna tear your kingdom straight down, and when we're done, you won't be around.
We shall not be moved.
We don't even know this battle is the Lord's. We stand on his word and we hold his sword.
We shall not be moved.
You better leave town and do it right now. You curse our holy word that we will all out.
We shall not be moved. Singing, we shall not, we shall not be moved. We shall not, no, we shall not be moved. Singing, we shall not, we shall not be moved. We shall not, no, we shall not be moved. Singing, we shall
us now.
We shall not be moved.
Sing with us now.
We shall not be moved.
Come on now.
We shall not be moved.
Come on now.
We shall not be moved. 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 We shall not be moved.
Pastor Manny now.
We shall not be moved.
Mother Manny now.
We shall not be moved.
All the elders now.
We shall not be moved.
All the mothers now.
We shall not be moved.
Come on, stop your feet.
We shall not be moved.
Come on, clap your hands.
We shall not be moved.
Sing it.
We shall not be moved.
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 Pardon me. All right.